So as the offseason continues, the biggest story has been the quarterback carousel, which has been hot and turning and news breaking throughout this offseason. And now 7 teams have new quarterbacks. The Browns have Tyrod Taylor. The Bills get A.J. McCarron. The Jets, meanwhile, add Teddy Bridgewater. So 2 new quarterbacks in the AFC East alone, just as of now before the draft, where the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, and the Bills are all expected to potentially add a quarterback. You have the Vikings adding Kirk Cousins, trying to hope that that is the move that pushes them over the top to becoming Super Bowl contenders. The Redskins add Alex Smith. And of course, the Broncos then get Case Keenum. And the Cardinals add both Sam Bradford and Mike Glennon. So I want to go ahead and break down some of these moves, particularly for each team. If you look at the AFC East, with the Bills and the Jets adding their quarterbacks, I believe both are viewed as kind of short-term options. I do think that with Teddy Bridgewater, there is a little more hope, and even for an A.J. McCarron, that maybe they can become something that they haven't quite shown yet in their careers. And, listen, Drew Brees wasn't Drew Brees when he went from the Chargers to the Saints. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but certainly Nick Foles was nearly 30 before this turnaround year he just had, winning the Super Bowl. So clearly guys can get better as they age, and maybe one of these guys can become something. I don't think, these are necessarily guaranteed bridge quarterbacks, but most likely, I don't think Jet fans and I don't think Bills fans are hoping A.J. McCarron and Teddy Bridgewater are their long-term franchise quarterbacks. Now, Teddy did have some nice career going, but he suffered a horrible injury, out for basically 2 seasons, really. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he comes back from that. And of course, A.J. McCarron spent a lot of time as the backup to Andy Dalton. The Bengals were never quite ready to make him the starter, so now he's in Buffalo. I think the Kirk Cousins going to Minnesota is a great move for Minnesota, and I think it's a great move for Kirk Cousins. They paid him plenty of money. He can go to a place with a real chance to win, and the Vikings truly did feel like they were a quarterback away. And regardless of how good you think Kirk Cousins is, I think it's pretty fair to say he's an above-average quarterback, at least, if not maybe just under that elite category. So I think there's a lot they can do there. But I think the losers in all this feel like the Cardinals having to settle for Sam Bradford and Mike Glennon. Maybe they'll pick up somebody in the draft, but neither one of those feel like anything more than below average 1-year quarterbacks. So I'm not really sure. I'm imagining that they were hoping for bigger and better, and that this is kind of them settling. And again, I would look out for the Cardinals in the draft, definitely, with that 15th pick if they don't trade up. Because, at best, maybe you get a year of Sam Bradford, and there's definitely no future with those 2 quarterbacks. As for Case Keenum going to Denver, makes sense. He had the Gary Kubiak connection. Does this stop Denver from drafting a quarterback? Probably not either. But Case Keenum did have a really nice year with Minnesota. Unfortunately for him, they decided to move on and go to Kirk Cousins, but I thought he deserved a chance somewhere. And so I think there's a very good chance he starts day 1 for the Denver Broncos. As for the Browns and Tyrod Taylor, listen, I thought that was also just a questionable move. Even if Tyrod Taylor, even if you see him as an average quarterback, I don't think anybody sees him in Cleveland with the draft picks they have and the ability to take a quarterback number 1 or number 4 in this year's draft alone. I don't think anybody sees Tyrod Taylor lasting more than a year as a starter, and so now you've given up a 3rd-round pick to do that. When in all reality, you probably could have just signed like an A.J. McCarron or somebody like that. And, he could have been the starter for half a year, whatever, and all it would have cost you was a little bit of money. So I don't really understand why the Browns would trade for Tyrod Taylor. But maybe there is something I'm not seeing there. Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last. But let me know what you guys think of all the quarterback news. And as always, comment down below. Peace.